Hi, John.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. Welcome to our AMA series of the Blockopedia. I'm your host, Ahmad, co founder of the Blockopedia. Today, we have a very special guest from Klaytn. And on the other another side of the mic, I have John from Klaytn. John, welcome in our AMA series of the Blockopedia. We name it Block Talks. Thanks for joining us. We will be start with some questions. Like I will be asking some questions, and it will be good for the community. The questions will be depend on the keratin only. From the start, I would like to know about you, how you have started your journey in this blockchain space. What when was the first time you have jumped into this space?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and the whole Blockchain team for having me tonight. It's really exciting to be able to speak with, the crypto community in Dubai. Yeah, just to begin, my name is John Cho. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at the Klaytn Foundation. I've been with Klaytn since 2019, since our initial Genesis block. So I've been with Klaytn for a while. To I guess respond to your question, I've been in crypto. I've been involved in crypto in some form, another since I'd say 2013. So like everybody else, I started out as an investor. Bought my first Bitcoin back in 2013, and then 2014 Ethereum happened, and that really kind of caught my attention. And that's when I was started just growing my interest and enthusiasm for the crypto industry. I actually come from a very traditional corporate background. So I've worked in various industries. I've worked in energy. I've worked in finance. I've worked in marketing, global marketing, data-driven marketing. So yeah, just but in 2019, I had an opportunity to join the Klaytn organization, and because I had that. I had maintained my enthusiasm and interest in crypto as an investor and as a community member since 2013. I just jumped at the chance, and so haven't looked back. So I've been around for a while. It's been quite a journey, and as we all know, there are ups and downs. It's a very market sensitive industry, but I think that's one of its kind of advantages because you're always being forced to push, develop new features, new functionality, new services to kind of keep movement with the market. So yep, really, it's been a great journey. Still very bullish on crypto for the long term. I would like to tell everybody we're still early.
You started very early in this space in 2013, and yeah, you have spent a lot of the time on the lots of the different segments and the different positions. It's really amazing to know. And yeah, you have spent it a very good time at the Klaytn, like around more than 4 years. We are going to serve in the Klaytn. On the another side, I have another question. Can you provide an overview to our community what Klaytn is and the unique features of the blockchain space with the Klaytn?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to assume that a lot of our audience members tonight are new to Klaytn, so I'll provide some context. So the way that the Klaytn project and the Klaytn blockchain, the teams were formed is actually very unique compared to our other L1s. So Klaytn was founded by a corporation called Kakao. And Kakao is basically one of the biggest information technology companies in South Korea. Now, if you're not familiar with the Kakao Messenger, think of Kakao Messenger as the WeChat of South Korea. So basically, there are around 54 million people in South Korea, and literally 99% of all Koreans use the Kakao Messenger as their de facto messenger service. And this has allowed the Kakao Messenger to really grow into a super app. So the Kakao group of companies now includes not just that main messenger platform, but we also have a bank. We also have payment infrastructure. We have K-pop and K entertainment agencies. So just covering the entire breadth of just like not just the technology side, but on the content side as well. So yeah, it's a unique blockchain in the fact that it was founded by an established corporate entity. And the reason why Kakao decided to build its own blockchain, to kind of like explore that, we have to like go back a little bit to around 2018. So Kakao, we have again like a 98, 99 percent market share in South Korea, and also we have significant presences across Southeast Asia as well. And for in order to for the Kakao ecosystem to expand globally, Kakao management really wanted to explore and leverage Web3 technologies. So back then, looking at blockchain technology as an infrastructural layer, and also a front end layer for new kind of services for global users. And exploring the layer ones back in 2017 and 18, it was most like Ethereum. I think, off the top of my head, you also had EOS and a few other layer ones. It definitely wasn't as diverse as what it is now, right? And the problem back then was, that blockchain trilemma. You need security, but at the same time, you need scalability and decentralization. And back then, I think a lot of the focus was around security and decentralization. So there were issues with the scalability aspect of the blockchain infrastructure back then. And but for a company like Kakao to really leverage blockchain technology, it was vital for them to be able to, uh, provide users with the same kind of like UX that you would expect from a native Web 2 mobile application, but that just wasn't possible with blockchain technology back in 2017 and 18. So that's why Kakao decided to create its own blockchain, the Klaytn blockchain. Really back then was really focused on enterprise grade performance. So scalability, we have a TPS of around theoretical TPS of 4,000. We're still one of the lowest latency, fastest EVM blockchains out there right now. So we have 1 second finality block times. Lowest latency of all the EVM chains out there. So there was a big focus on scalability and performance when during the initial inception of the Klaytn blockchain, and also with that, because Kakao was really focused on streamlining not just user experiences, but also the dev experience as well. So there's a lot of investment made around creating a really solid and streamlined developer environment for Klaytn as well. So basically, to create an infrastructural layer that could support mainstream applications, at the same time offering the kind of developer experiences and environments that you would expect for established Web 2 technology stacks. So that's why Kakao decided to create its own blockchain. And and since we've been Klaytn has continued to grow since 2019. At the moment, we have around 300 dApps live on Klaytn at the moment. We're consistently seeing around 450,000 transactions a day. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and the journey is going to continue, of course. And right now, we're really looking to expand our reach and our community into other areas, not just in Asia, but also outside of Asia as well.
Really very nice explanations from your side, like you have explained from the app from the South Korea to Kalatin dApps, and the numbers you have mentioned for the dApps is really very good. And I have also very good connections in the space, and I have also have some connections who are actually using the Kalatin for their dApps, and the transactions they are using for the dApps is quite easy. I got the feedback from many of my friends from my space. So I would like to know, like, how Klaytn is differ from other blockchain, and how Klaytn distinction from themselves from other blockchains as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, differentiating, a specific, layer one ecosystem with the other layer ones out there these days, I think is less important. It's, and I'm sure we'll discuss this later on, but, it's more about, interconnectivity now, streamlining user experiences, developer experience. But that said, Klaytn also has a lot of differentiating factors from both a technology perspective, an ecosystem perspective, and I guess a business perspective. So to start with the technology perspective, I mean, like I mentioned just before, so just scalability and performance is just one of the best out there, especially among EVM chains. Because we are an EVM chain, and compared to other EVM chains, we are able to maintain that really high theoretical TPS of 4,000. We're consistently able to maintain 1 second block finality times, super low latency. We recently actually shared an article, I think, through our developer on Twitter, where we actually compared our latency times with other EVM chains, and and we were again still consistently, I think, number one in terms of like latency. So just from technology standpoint, just offering scalability and technology while also an important point is maintaining Ethereum equivalence as well. So all the features and functionality that you'd see on Ethereum is available on Klaytn, but again at a more scalable level. And also, because performance and scalability is really important for us, we try and maintain a really optimized gas fee mechanic. So gas is very low, which allows users and developers to experiment more on Klaytn, and also the developer environment. So we have a really robust developer community and also really robust developer resources. So we have a dev portal. Right now, we're in the midst of our flagship hackathon, Claymakers 23. We have $1 million prize pool. So that's super exciting. But yeah, just TLDR, definitely performance scalability is one of our key differentiating technology factors. From a business and ecosystem perspective, I think one of the kind of key differentiating qualities, and also this is a quality and characteristic that a lot of developers really appreciate, is that because we were established by a legacy technology company, we're really, really adamant about maintaining compliance. And of course, regulations, the regulatory landscape is different for all, depending on which region you're in. So we try to keep, on top of all the different regulatory, changes that are happening around the world, and make sure that everything we do on Klaytn is compliant. That's really important for us because a couple of months back, we actually shared a long-term strategy where we're actually focusing on real-world assets, because from the beginning, from the initial Genesis block, we've always been about making sure Klaytn reaches mainstream adoption. We want to be the de facto infrastructural layer for a mainstream blockchain ecosystem. So, and we believe RWAs, real world assets, so the tokenization of real world assets, will be the kind of like key catalyst in terms of bringing mainstream adoption to blockchain technology. And in order for that to work, you need to have compliance. So that compliance aspect, I think is a key differentiating characteristic. It's also something that's very overlooked because there is so much focus on decentralization and that whole crypto ethos. But moving forward, if you want to go mainstream, if you want to secure the user base, if you want support from legacy industries like in finance or gaming and so on, you need that level of compliance there. So that I think is another key differentiating characteristic. And just I think this is more on the kind of I guess not really a data driven kind of characteristic, but just the fact that we have a really large or core organization that supports the Klaytn blockchain. So we have a team of 50 plus full-time Klaytn devoted members, from developers to business development managers to marketing. So we're actually really able to not just continue providing support for the Klaytn chain as core developers, but also business and marketing support for our partners as well, which I think is something that is really important these days, because the Web3 landscape is so competitive. So I think that also the fact that we have a lot of resources available to us as one of the core organizations working on the Klaytn blockchain as the in the form of the Klaytn Foundation is also a key differentiating factor as well, I think.
Yeah, perfect. I also believe the same. Like the consistency, stability is the need of the market now, and I have also same faced the same. Like lots of the companies and the chains are unable to provide that particular thing for the users and for the dApp side. So I have one keyword in my mind, like the that's called intra. Parability is a key topic in the blockchain industry, and I would like to know like how does the Klaytn approach interoperability with other blockchains, and what benefit does it offer to developers and the users?
Yeah, I mean, interoperability is something that's very important. That's something that we've, continued to kind of really emphasize, for a very long time. It's not just about growing your own ecosystem, but it's also being able to connect with other ecosystems because these days, for example, in the DeFi space, there is definitely a bit of I wouldn't necessarily go far as to say a liquidity crunch, but there is definitely a lack of liquidity compared to the previous bull run. So in order to kind of facilitate growth, you need to be able to have infrastructure in place that will allow users to move liquidity back and forth between different ecosystems. So from that perspective, Klaytn's integrated into all the major bridges from Wormhole to Synapse. We're also integrated with the Orbit bridge, which is one of the largest bridges out there in terms of TVL. So, I mean, just from just an integration perspective, Klaytn is integrated into again one of the most of the major bridges out there. So moving assets back and forth between different ecosystems, it should not be an issue. We also have a really 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 robust wallet infrastructure ecosystem as well. We're integrated into a ton of wallets, all the major wallets out there, and of course that said, there's a lot of focus on layer twos right now, and that's also an area that we're we're exploring and we're researching right now in stealth. But hopefully we'll be able to share something very soon. But yep, I mean, definitely looking into L2 technology to kind of really help expand, the interoperability of the Klaytn ecosystem is important for us. So I think, I mean, there isn't really anything, really, out there or like too different in terms of interoperability. Just it's about making sure that Klaytn's integrated into all the kind of interconnectivity infrastructure out there. Again, bridges, wallets, and so on. And I think the biggest benefit, that Klaytn brings to other ecosystems is we have a very active chain. Like I said, we have like 450 transactions a day on average, which is really high compared to some of the other chains out there. We also have a lot of liquidity available on our chain, and because our performance is so fast and gas fees are really low, we have a really really active and robust DeFi ecosystem, and so we're seeing a lot of assets coming in from other chains to access the Klaytn DeFi ecosystem. So the biggest benefit, that Klaytn offers from an interconnectivity perspective, I would say, is the fact that you can bring your assets that are on other chains over to Klaytn to leverage Klaytn's DeFi ecosystem. Because again, gas fees are really, I wouldn't, I don't like using the word cheap, but they are. And because again, the network is so fast from a performance perspective, the DeFi experience is really, really streamlined. So I think that is also really a major attraction for users.
Got it, got it. In the addition of the last question, I would like to know you have mentioned like the Klaytn blockchain has a unique governance model. So can you elaborate on how this model works and what is the advantages and what is advantages to offers to the communities and the developers also?
Yeah, so we do have a unique governance model. Now, the reason that Klaytn's been able to maintain its level of performance and scalability is because we actually have a hybrid model blockchain. So we're not a fully open public blockchain. Anyone can build on top of Klaytn, but the validation and the node operators are actually done by a select group of entities. And that's why we're able to maintain this level of performance. Now, the entities are a group of right now, we have right now, looking at the data, we have 34 members of our governance council, and all 34 members are established Web 2 and Web 3 corporations. So, for example, of course, we have the Cacao Corporation as one of our members of the Governance Council. We also have Netmarble, which is one of the largest gaming publishers and developers in the world. Uh, Binance is part of our Governance Council. We have Hashkey, which is one of the biggest crypto entities in China. Just off the top of my head, we have other major Web3 players like 1inch, Jump. So like it's a mix of traditional Web2 entities and Web3 entities that are basically operating our nodes to secure the network and also participating in the governance of the chain. Now, what advantages does this bring? Besides the performance aspect, because all of these entities are so established, they have a lot of, a wide, ranging, availability of resources that they, can potentially, leverage for to grow the Klaytn ecosystem. So we're always, meeting with our governance council members to, discuss ways that we can expand the ecosystem. Just last month, we actually started sharing our monthly governance council meeting minutes with the public. So you can actually, go to our Clean Square governance portal and see the kind of topics that are being discussed. But there's a lot of synergy opportunities having these established. Like we have media companies, we have finance companies, we have technology companies, crypto companies. A lot of synergy points that can happen having these entities govern the chain. Like for example, we have our long-term strategy around real-world assets, and in order for real-world assets to really grow, you need to be able to bring in those assets onto the chain, right? So like for example, we have ITCN. ITCN is an entity that is part of the Korea Gold Exchange. So the Korea Gold Exchange is the largest physical gold exchange in South Korea, which makes it by default one of the largest gold exchanges in Asia. And they are part of the Governance Council. And what can they do for us? Well, we are actually working with the team to offer tokenized gold tokens. So these tokenized gold tokens will be backed by gold and will be pegged to the gold price. And so this is probably going to be one of our biggest RWA efforts this year. But the way that we're approaching this is in a very unique way, because you have gold tokens out there already, but a lot of time these gold tokens are only available on centralized exchanges or centralized services or CeFi services. But we're actually going to be offering these real world assets, gold backed real world assets on our DeFi protocols and in our DeFi ecosystem. So what does that mean? It actually brings more utility to an asset class like gold, where previously, retail investors may not have had many opportunities to leverage their gold assets. But if you can have gold tokens on DeFi, you could potentially, for example, leverage your gold as collateral to, get a loan or, stake your gold for yields. So it's these, ecosystem and business synergy points that I think are really beneficial to having these big corporate entities as part of our governance council. And, of course, it never hurts to have entities like 1inch and Binance, participate in the governance of the chain, because they're obviously one of the major players in Web3, and having them on the same team, I think, is definitely something that is only beneficial. And and from a community and developer perspective, the benefits are pretty clear. If you build on Klaytn, you have the potential to, maybe work with one of these entities, the potential to, for example, have access to these teams that you previously may not have, building on other chains. So that accessibility to these major players, I think, is a big kind of benefit for developers as well. And also from a community standpoint, you know, projects like 1inch, they already have a massively established community. Binance, obviously, as well. So this allows the Klaytn communities to kind of like join forces, if you will, I guess, with these other communities like 1inch community and the Binance community, and really kind of like share liquidity, and just like add like that kind of like additional kind of growth aspects to and potential to the Klaytn blockchain and its ecosystem.
Yeah, like it's really speechless, I can say. Like your governance is really very great, and the names you have mentioned, like the Aave and the 1inch and the Binance, is a very big name. And I can you can say like the governance is a backbone of any ecosystem. And yeah, it's really good to know. I have one question from the community, like I would like to ask. Everyone talks about the security and the privacy. So, how does the Klaytn Foundations ensure the security of the robustness of the Klaytn blockchain and the applications running on them?
Yep. So from a security perspective, well, first out, the Klaytn chain has been up like 99.999% since our initial Genesis block in 2019. And that was only possible because we have these established entities running our nodes. So it's going to be very rare where you see, for example, Binance shutting down their node, because it's going to be, uh, you know, it's going to be a very, I guess, it's not going to be feasible for a massive entity like Binance to go out of business, right? So we wanted to have these established entities that we knew were I guess secure in terms of just like the resources that they had, and that they could make available potentially for Klaytn. So uh, because you want your node operators to be operating those nodes 24/7 without any issues. So from that perspective, having a governance model like this, where there is a portion of centralization, but I think that it's that trade-off between making sure the network is secure and up and running, versus decentralization. But that said, we are looking to move to a more permissionless model, and actually allow end users to run their own validator nodes with the governance council as well. So we've been pursuing a permissionless direction for the last year or so. We're still working out the final specs and what kind of a node service that you would need to run in order to participate as a validator on the Klaytn network. But yeah, we do realize that having more community oriented validators is also an important part of growing a community, and also making sure the governance is transparent. So yeah, we're really excited about going permissionless. But yeah, the model that we have, I think, is really one of the key reasons why that the Klaytn network is so secure, and we haven't had any security issues because of this model.
Perfect. Yeah, I have seen you are a open chain, and it's really good for the developers. And I have seen like you are providing the various tools and the support for the developers for building their dApps on the Klaytn. So let's talk about how do you support them financially? Like how do you support them with the grants? So I would like to know. Can you provide me an overview of the Klaytn's grant program, and what is the criteria does the foundation consider while selecting any recipients?
Yeah, so we have the Klaytn Community Fund, the KCF, and that is our official ecosystem grant program. And our KCF is actually run purely on via on-chain governance. So the foundation, so we've taken a very decentralized approach to our grant program, so that it's not the foundation who makes a standalone decision in terms of who's rewarded grants, but it's the governance council and also the community that decides on whether or not a grant proposal is accepted. And I guess from that, the key takeaway here is that the projects that have very tangible milestones and that are obviously that have clear goals and objectives in terms of adding to the clean ecosystem. I think those projects will are more likely to be approved for grants. So, as a foundation, we of course we have preferences for projects that are unique and that will add add unique kind of services and products to the ecosystem. But again, because our grant program is decentralized and is governed via on-chain voting, from our governance council and also by the community as well. It's mostly projects that have, again, clear milestones, clear objectives, and kind of clearer outlines of how they intend to contribute to the clean ecosystem. It's those projects that are most likely to have grants approved as well. But it's a very robust system. Anybody can submit a proposal in our governance forum, and those proposals are then reviewed by members of the governance council. We also get community feedback, and because we wanted the grant program to be a decentralized collaborative process, what the process involves is if you submit a proposal in the governance forum, there is a 2-week review period. So during the 2 weeks, you'll get feedback from members of the community, members of the governance council, and it'll allow the proposer to adjust and maybe change things in the proposal to make it so the community and the governance council members are more aligned to your objectives. So it's not just about like submit a proposal, reject, but there is that process where you can actually work collaboratively based on feedback from the governance council and the community. And once that 2-week period is up, then it's members of the governance council will vote to either move the proposal forward for official on-chain voting or to reject the proposal. So it's similar. It's a similar decentralized, grant process to other layer ones. But I guess the difference here is that we have that collaborative process where you have that 2-week period that you can receive feedback from the governance council members and community to really help adjust and revise your proposal to make sure the incentives and the directions are aligned with what the community wants.
I think this is the actually the best way to have the in front of the governance system, and 2 weeks time, and after reviewing that, they are also helping them with the amendments, with the restructuring of the proposal. So it's really good to know. So I would like to jump on another question. Like we all just back from token 2049. So, could you share some highlights from your recent participation at Token 2049 in Singapore? What were the key takeaways or trends you observed in the event?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if we have any listeners right now who are also at Token 2049, but for me, the biggest takeaway was, I mean, just looking at the energy that was there on the ground in Singapore. I mean, you could not tell it was we were in a bear market. The energy was insane. I think this year's Token 2049 was a lot bigger than last year's even, and it just kind of like, I guess really reinforced my belief and my kind of like bull case for our crypto. I think the markets are disconnected with the actual industry itself because the people that I spoke with, I spoke with a lot of people at Token 49, and everyone was building. Everyone was building. I mean, of course, there was less money going around for sure, and it was I would say less flashy than what token was last year, but people are heads down building. I think I spoke to more builders than I did in previous kind of like years and in other conferences. So I mean, for me, the biggest takeaway is that there is a disconnect between the markets and the actual industry itself, because the industry is growing. It is definitely growing. More people are entering it. More people are looking to build tangible real world use cases, using crypto, using blockchain infrastructure. And but because I think we're in this a really weird place, because the crypto markets themselves move very quickly, right? The cycles are very quick. We have like 1 year, 2 year, like bull bear cycles. So compared to other traditional markets, it's really the cycles are really quick. But that said, the actual building process is similar to what it was in Web 2. It takes time to build a good service, right? So I think there's being this kind of like unrealistic expectation built up from retail investors, that builders work at the same pace as the markets, which is not the case, right? So a lot of the time, final products take a year or 2 years to come out. So yeah, again, just repeating myself right now, but yeah, for me, the biggest takeaway was that there is definitely, I think, a disconnect between what the actual industry is at the moment. It's growing, builders are building, and the markets. And I do think the markets will eventually catch up to the industry. Hopefully soon, sooner than later. But yeah, that was the biggest takeaway for me for Token 2049.
Yeah, hopefully we also have a very high hope with the better market. But yeah, like the energy at token 2049 was very amazing, and the side events and the other events at during the token 2049, it was quite very energetic. And there were actually the people who are working on something, building on a very good products, and the connections with them and meeting with them personally at token 2049 was a very good experience for me, for myself. And I also feel the safe like same like we are disconnected and we are somehow very far from the industry, but these type of events really help us to connect with the industry, to connect with the pupils who are actually building something, who have actually spent a lot of the time in the market, and they are working on the very stable market, and in the growing market as well. So yeah, it's really a very nice event and very energetic event I have attended. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and just to kind of add to that as well, if you haven't been to Token 2049 before, I would really highly recommend you visit next year, because I think Token 2049 has really grown as a conference, and I think it's now positioned itself as the kind of like flagship, regional crypto conference in Asia. So before, maybe it was a little, may have been focused, a lot more on like teams based in Singapore, but this year definitely it was a global conference. Of course, with a more focus on Asia regionally, but I think it's a Token 2049 is a fantastic conference for you to kind of like really sense what the hot narratives and the current meta is within the industry. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't been before, to attend Token 2049 in Singapore next year. And while on the subject of narratives and meta, I think this year definitely, I think the biggest interest was in real world assets. That I think was the biggest kind of like narrative being discussed at Token. Especially like myself, just like personally, it's like look, most of the people who visited the Klaytn booth were actually interested in what we were doing in the RWA sector. So I think real world assets will definitely revitalize the crypto and blockchain industry. Again, I just wanted to emphasize, things like this do take time, right? Especially with real world assets. The thing is, the technology has always been there. Like the technology has been ready to, really leverage and facilitate growth around, the tokenization of real world assets, leveraging tokenized real world assets for, via DeFi protocols or via CeFi services. But it's that the bottleneck's always been the regulatory kind of like landscape. But Asia is opening up. We all heard, what's happening in Hong Kong, Singapore. They're bringing a lot more clarity into what can be done and can't be done. Japan, South Korea as well. So I guess for me, another takeaway from a narrative and like, current kind of like, quote unquote hot meta perspective is that I think Asia is really going to spearhead the RWA sector in crypto. And by default, I think Asia is going to become one of the kind of like key, like, focal regions in the crypto industry. And I think Asia will kind of like spearhead the mainstream adoption. At the very least, adoption from institutions.
Yeah, we'll definitely attend the next token 2049 also, because like we also attend so many conferences in the past. We also have plans for other conferences, but the token 2049 is definitely on from our team. And because like this year like was very energetic, and we are going to buy for Jitex, we are going to buy for FBS, for Blockchain Live. But yeah, like we love to attend the conferences and the events happening around the globe. And yeah, like the mention of the Asia, yeah, Asia, I believe so, like Asia is going to becoming a very largest community of this crypto space, because like lots of the big projects are coming from that market. And the Asian community, I believe, like they are actually understanding this space and are actually building something on this space from the Asia. So yeah, this is a very very good point from your side. I would like to know another question. Like I have asked enough questions from my side, and I have the last question from me. What do you have any future plans from the Klaytn? And would you like to share the Klaytn Foundation visions and any other thing? Would you like to share about the Klaytn future plans and the future perspective and the future partnership, future collaboration? Anything would you like to share with us?
Yeah. First and foremost, make sure once the AMA is over, make sure you follow our the Klaytn official Twitter account for all the latest news that is happening in Klaytn. But I mean, just over the last couple of months, we've just been inundating our community with announcement after announcement. But I think moving forward, going back to my previous point of our long term strategy around real world assets. And I think that is going to continue expanding, and we're going to see a lot of exciting collaborations happen in that front. With our long-term strategy, there were three kind of key exploratory areas that we were going to we will be focusing on. So I mentioned RWAs, but also another big area is gaming as well. So crypto industry, I think has been evolving a lot, and I think we're now in a place where crypto and blockchain technology is finally finding its footing. And definitely, gaming is a big kind of area where Web3 technology makes sense. And we're seeing a lot of triple A legacy Web2 game developers kind of like explore Web3 technology for their gaming projects as well. But I think in the future, we won't be seeing as many like quote unquote native crypto games, like especially in the P2 in the play to earn sector. I think in the future it'll be more about enhancing gameplay, enhancing user experiences by integrating Web3 technologies. So for example, say it's an MMORPG, you could potentially integrate NFT technology to allow users to secure ownership. I guess self-sovereign game items, secure ownership around game items that previously were locked into specific developer service. So gaming is another really exciting area that we'll be focusing on. And because of our background coming from that traditional corporate Web2 industry, a lot of our gaming partners are actually AAA, established AAA gaming developers and publishers. So a lot of the games on Klaytn are games that you may not even know are actually, Web3 games, right? So that aspect, that area, we're going to continue kind of like, growing, and we're expecting to see a lot of really cool games continue, being migrated over onto the Klaytn blockchain, and also regional expansion. Now, crypto has always been like, there's been this emphasis around, being borderless, being global, but you know, we've come to a place where there is a need for localization, even for like, blockchain ecosystems and services. Just at a very kind of like, high level, language can be a barrier. English is kind of like the de facto language here in crypto, but when you visit, regions like Vietnam or like, Thailand, uh, the crypto adoption there is through the roof. I mean, there's a lot of interest in crypto, but a lot of the time, language itself is actually a barrier. So for us, what we'll be doing is continuing to expand the Klaytn ecosystem, but from a very tangible perspective. So actually establishing teams on the ground around Asia to really help grow, the Klaytn community and also the crypto community in general, by providing localized services. Like, for example, all our developer docs are also translated into Vietnam, and also, and Japan is also another area of interest for us. We're one of the few cryptos out there that were whitelisted by the Japanese Exchange Association, and we're actually soon to be greenlisted in Japan as well, which means that any exchange can now freely list the Clay token in Japan. So yeah, regional expansion, having teams actually on the ground, working in a grassroots kind of level to build communities. That is also another area that we'll be pushing forward with in the future. But besides the gaming, besides the community, again, just wanted to emphasize our efforts in real world assets. The gold token will be launching probably later this month or early November. That is going to be very exciting. We've already seen a lot of interest from institutions wanting to, invest in these tokens because, gold compared to crypto is relatively stable. And we're seeing, a lot of, especially crypto funds and also crypto project treasury managers wanting to, hold on to these, gold-backed tokens because for them it's more of a stable way to manage, their finances. So real-world assets, and there's a lot more really cool assets that will be tokenized on Klaytn. Can't really speak too much in detail tonight, but definitely, again, keep an eye out. Follow Twitter, and you're going to see a lot of cool news coming up towards the as we approach Q4.
Yeah, like it's really very amazing. I learned so much about Klaytn future plans for Klaytn, grant process, and the Klaytn governance system. So yeah, I really enjoyed a lot having discussions with you and to learn more about the Klaytn. So it's really a very amazing talk to you. So I think like I have spent enough time. So I would like to conclude this AMA and. Thanks, John. Thanks for coming in our AMA series, and I had a very fascinating discussions with you. Hopefully, all goes well, and we can have you again. And so, I would like to end this AMA from your final words. So, just say, do you have anything to convey, any message to our community for the future plan, for anything you want to convey to our community? Yeah.
Yeah, well, first of all, again, thank you very much for having me. I've had a great time. Again, I've been in crypto for a very long time. And even though I've been in crypto for a very long time, I love talking about crypto. So I really enjoyed myself. Thank you, and I'd like to thank the whole Blockopedia team for having me on tonight. Also, I would like to thank the community for listening and participating in tonight's AMA. And please follow our official Klaytn Twitter account. And when you do follow her account, like scroll down a little bit and just have a look at the things that happened in the last couple of months, and you'll see how active and really vibrant the Klaytn ecosystem is. And again, I'm just I'm on like I sound like a broken record, but there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming out soon, especially on the RWA front, and like kicking off with our gold backed tokens, which will be again being released around later this month or early November. So yeah, if you're interested in real world assets, if you're interested in an ecosystem where the focus is on mainstream adoption with real world use cases, I think Klaytn is definitely the blockchain for you. So yeah, also feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. And also, yeah, if you have any questions, just send me a DM or write comments onto my tweet.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, it's really, really nice, really nice. Thank you so much, John. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.